I'm getting worried now. I think the case is cracked. From the top of Alaska, I'm riding my motorcycle around the planet to the bottom of New Zealand. I'm calling it the Big Spiral. We're in West Africa, and this is the next day of my adventure. All right, good morning from Dakar, Senegal. Today we are heading to the motorcycle shop because little Cowie needs some love. She's leaking, she's dragging, she's a little worn out, so it's time to do a little maintenance and give her the appreciation she so deserves. So yeah, we'll just head there right now. I think there's so much, I don't know, so humid or something, or there's so much salt there, like my visor just completely caked. My sunglasses are just getting covered. Just stopped to clear my glasses. I'm really in it now, aren't I? And I think it's just around the corner here. But I may be too early. Okay, now we wait. I just licked my visor and it tastes like salt. So yeah, it's just the ocean and the air basically. All right, so they've just opened up. We're at Mad Bikes in Dakar. And so here's the plan for today. So the first thing we want to do is, well, this is leaking quite badly. And it's actually gotten worse. If you can see, it's just been sitting here for about 15-20 minutes, and that's how much it's leaked already. The other thing I want to do, if you remember in the UK, I serviced this. Well, it needs another service, I think. So it's been dragging a little bit. It's not really been a huge hindrance, but that definitely needs some work. And then my tires. So they're not too bad, but actually the front is worse. For some reason, everybody says their back tire wears faster, but for me, it's the front. Maybe it's the way I brake or something. So we're gonna put some new tires on. So those are the most important things. Maybe an oil change, we'll see. But for me, the main thing is the sprocket, if we can figure that out somehow. So yeah. All right, so it's time to start working on the bike, and the first step is to clean it. So we're just cleaning the area and hopefully figure out where the leak is once it's cleaned. It was a fight, but we got this off. One thing I kind of want to see is that it's spinning and there's no play in there, but I think it's fine. Because if this wasn't spinning exactly in the center, then it would leak for sure, but I think it's good. Leaking from here. All right, well, yeah, now we gotta take the swing arm off to get a better look, because I'm getting worried now. I think the case is cracked. Oop, there it goes. That'll be the first time the swing arm's off. All right, we've come up with a bit of a quick fix. It looks like we're gonna epoxy it. I'm not totally sure this is a good idea because I feel that this crack is already getting worse. I think I'd rather drill a hole on each side of the crack and weld, but Badu thinks it's gonna work. He thinks it's gonna be just fine. I have my reservations though, but this is not good. Time for some epoxy. Worst comes to worst and it still leaks, then it's basically I can get that epoxy off and try a different fix. But yeah, I think in this case I just have to put my trust in Baidu and just just hope that it works, because at this point I don't really have any other options, and yeah, what do I say now? But yeah, my concern is that it's going to continue to grow, because it started basically in Scotland and it's been slowly getting worse. And yeah, basically I think that it'll continue to get worse, and I think that epoxy's just gonna, it won't hold it together. It's just gonna, it's a band-aid really. And I've already been Googling, was the KLX 3000 sold in South Africa or anywhere in Africa? Because I think the real fix is to get a new case for the bike or a new engine, or potentially weld it. The upside is that every time I replaced the seal on the main sprocket, I did a good job, because that was not the cause of the leak at all. I also think it might be a fairly major design flaw that swing arm is going through the engine case. There's a CRF rally right here, and I was wondering if they did the same thing on that bike. And no, there's this swing arm is just going through the frame. So yeah, I don't know why Kawasaki decided to put the swing arm through the engine case. To save weight in some way, but yeah, obviously I think it's cracking because of the swing arm. It's also very close to the main sprocket, so something could have happened there. So while I think a weld is probably a better idea, all this JV weld, all this epoxy could easily be removed. So if it starts to leak after this, I can still go for the weld option. So this might be a good stopgap. Now I'm also thinking that it's possible that the cause of this might have been at one point that the chain might have been too tight. And so what happens is when the suspension articulates, the chain tightens slightly, and it might have pulled this into the suspension here and just create some kind of pressure crack. I'm pretty sure I did it all within spec all the time. It's only three centimeters of slack in there, so, and I've always been like very generous with the amount of slack I leave, but it's really difficult to know. It could have just been all the work that the suspension is doing is fatigue, like causing fatigue in the case there, but hard to know. The funny thing is if you look at these KTMs, yes, the swing arm is going through the case. So maybe it's not as crazy as I thought. Maybe I'm just a bit unlucky. So this is Mia, the shop cat. She is so small and a little bit feisty.
And earlier she was running around, getting in the way, but now I think she just woke up from her nap.
Newly serviced brake.
And she loves her box like all cats do. Oh no, don't bite, don't bite.
Ooh, violence.
Hi, how's your breakfast? Your lunch?
Okay, well, he said the plan is to go around and just ride for 20 minutes, and we're gonna check. I'm just gonna go really gently, and we're gonna check to see if the patch job holds. I asked, this guy is not looking. I asked him, how long do you think it's gonna last? And he said, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. So I hope he's right. I really hope he's right. It would be fantastic if he's right. I'm just a little hesitant is all. I'm not so as confident as he is. So we're just gonna go around the city and see. But yeah, just gonna drive really gently. I don't want to make the bike super hot or anything. Okay, so here, let me just explain this. So when metal heats up, it expands. And my concern is that the weld, the epoxy that we use to patch the crack, my concern is that material will expand at a different rate than my case will. And so if that happens, basically that means it's always going to be pulling and pushing every time the bike cools down and warms up. And so that's my concern. Anyways, well, I guess we're heading onto the highway here. I got new tires on. I decided to go with the Michelin Tracker. So he basically had two options for me. And I went with the Michelin Tracker. It's probably, it's quite aggressive. I know in my future here that I'm going to be riding in some pretty tough conditions, especially if it rains. It's going to be really difficult. So I thought I'm going to go with the most aggressive tire I possibly can. Okay, I've ridden around the city for about 40 minutes, and yeah, we'll go back to the shop and see what they say, how it is. All right, let's have a look. It is in here somewhere. It's maybe difficult for me to film. Maybe you can see that drip from the epoxy. So that's just the epoxy there. It looks dry in there, I have to say. Wouldn't it be amazing if it held for the rest of the way around the world? That would be fantastic. It would be I'd be really, really amazed. All right, so they kind of noticed that my bike leans a lot. And back in the UK, when I crossed from Dover to Dunkirk, basically they really winched down my bike on the ferry. I even said like, oh, they're really winching it down. Well, when they did that, they really bent up my kickstand. And well, they noticed this, and well, now they're trying to fix it. So the Persuader. Let's get on there. Let's feel it. Selfie.
in selfie.
Yeah, wait, wait,
Here
wait.
the drapo come here. For the drapo.
Oh yeah, the Senegalese flag. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Say cheese.
Cool.
All right. Thanks so much, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and we're off with a much improved bike. I'll say that for sure. Oh yeah, super nice guys. Very, very eager to help. So, yeah, heading back to the accommodation now. Yeah, I hope the tires are going to be. These tires are definitely new to me. These Michelin, what are they called again? I already forget. But yeah, these Michelin, they're basically like road legal enduro tires. That guy. People just turn, they don't look. Be like, I know if I don't look, then they know I'm not looking. But we're heading back in rush hour now, so nope, I guess I go around then. The motorcycle is so efficient in this traffic. You don't fit there, but I do. And here we are back. Well, it feels good to have that leak fixed. And I gotta give credit to Madhu because we tried twice to figure out that leak, and both times we thought it was coming from the main seal. But both times I was wrong. Both times I was wrong. But Madhu, he just cleaned the bike. He was patient, and then he ran the bike, and he basically looked for a leak. And I'll be honest, I thought he wasn't going to find a leak in that situation because he had the bike sitting straight up and the sprocket wasn't turning, and I thought, okay, well, it's not going to leak in this situation. Well, it's good to do that because the leak was coming from a completely different spot, and yeah, so that kind of shows the experience, like someone experienced, like Madhu. It really helps. Now, I also have to trust in Madhu's experience because he really thinks this epoxy fix is going to last a long time. He really does. And I'm a little bit more, because I kind of feel like the engine and the epoxy will expand and contract at different rates. And I also know that this crack has gotten worse because the leak has gotten worse over time, and I think it'll continue to grow. So jury's out. Right now it's not leaking. As I rode back from the shop, it's still not leaking, but you will be the first to know when I do notice a leak, if it ever does leak again. But he was saying it's very common on these bikes because the swing arm is like getting torqued around, it's also, getting twisted around, and then it's twisting with the engine. He thinks it's something like that. I think it might possibly be that I may have tensioned the chain a little too much. I can't remember when I did that because every time I have tension in the chain, I actually have measured it. So I think that might be a little unlucky, but I thought maybe, so I think maybe the chain pulled the sprocket and the swing arm together and kind of pushed that bit of the case together, creating basically like a compression fracture like you would have with a bone. That's kind of my theory, but I can't remember a time when I made the chain too tight. So it's all a bit of a mystery. But yeah, like Madhu says, he's like, yeah, this stuff happens. But I'm also thinking ahead. Like I was looking today, which countries in South Africa have my bike, the KLX 300 or the KLX 250, basically the same bike. And from what I saw, it was like basically North Africa, and South Africa seems to have them as well. So if you know, this is something that's very difficult to fix, I may need either a new case or a whole new motor by the time I get to South Africa. But if Matt is right, it'll be fine, and I'll make it to New Zealand, no problem at all. So, yeah. Now, and also he's fixed the back brake. It was dragging a little bit. It's much better now. And then new tires. I'm always curious to try new tires because just using new tires is, you know, for me, it's like I need to experience the tire and find out for myself whether I like it or not. So, yeah, these Michelin tires they're definitely the most aggressive tire, but I also know stuff coming up, it could get really hairy, especially if it rains. Anyhow, what else did they? Oh yeah, and right at the end, I'm like, I didn't really expect him to fix it, but they kind of fixed my kickstand, so the bike stands straighter up now, which is also good if it does leak oil, because when it was really leaned over, the oil level would be sitting against that crack, and it would leak out as it was leaning over. If it's not leaned over as much, it won't leak as much if it does leak. So, anyways, yeah. And I just want to say, this is all part of the adventure, and stuff happens to motorbikes, especially when you're riding around the world. And you're putting a lot of stress on these bikes, and you're doing all sorts of things with them, and stuff happens. And I think if you're going to be doing this, it's really important to accept that stuff happens, and not be like, well, it's over now, and you know, you just have to deal with it. You just have to fix the problem. So nobody's gone around the world with zero problems, and I'm not going to be the first one that somehow manages to do that. I've already proven that I'm not. So yeah. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. I really liked Mia, the cat. Mia's a character. Anyways, I'm going to leave some links in the description. There'll be links to how I got to this point in Africa, all the way from Canada. So you can watch all the episodes if you want. And then there'll also be a link to my Patreon, because all my patrons really make it possible for me to be able to go around the world on my motorbike and then share it with the whole world. So anyways, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. And I'll let you know if it leaks for sure. Bye.